Hey, how you doing? This is John, and welcome to John's Long Box. As usual, I'll just ask to see if anybody's in the chat, if they could let me know if I look good, sound good. And today we are going to respond to last week's Justice League of America. So before we get started, we'll chit chat. Hope some people will show up. Yes, this is my copy of Fantastic Four #1. As you can see, it is not in the best condition, but it was in the best condition that I can afford. I'll talk more about the comic when I see that there's people, in the chat responding. Hey, Pete here. First off, Crom, you became a YouTube member. Thank you. Thank you so much, Crom. I appreciate it. For those of you who don't know what that means, I am the worst salesman in the world, but it's you pay $5 a month. I get $3.50 a month. YouTube gets the other whatever, and it just goes into a pool, and I get paid. I got 3 members, and if you become a member, when my comic comes out, it's going to go to a fulfillment service, so other people will probably get it first, and then what you will get is an autographed copy by Renzo Rodriguez and myself. Just I don't know what else to offer. You're paying too much, but it's just a nice gesture to help me out. And so, Crom, so I got 3 members. So thanks a lot. How's that for the world's worst sales pitch? I don't know what else to do. And then Pete, how you doing, Pete? Pete looks like a dog. No, that's his dog, Maisie. How you doing? Pete used to live nearby me. Now he lives out in Arizona, so we really only interact on YouTube. So if you're interested, here is my YouTube partner. That's how much in 3 years. In 3 years, that's how much money I made from this YouTube channel. I know I'm not supposed to show that stuff, but here you go. All right. So there you go. That's my big whopping payout. All right. I spent more money on comics in a month than I make in 3 years doing this. Hey, Haldir's here. I assume everything looks good. I assume everything sounds good. How you doing, Haldir? How's it going? I assume you're into Norse mythology. Great. I love Norse mythology. Doing a lot of research for a future project that I don't want to spoil. But if my comic does well, oh man, I got Heroic Tales will be, my forever book. And then I got 2 other like one shots that I really, really want to make. One of them is basically mythology, and one of them is basically a horror Western. So there we go. Again, I'm distracted. All right, we got 7 people in the audience. I assume everything looks good. Nobody's complaining. So let's get with this. So this is Sunday Comics. This is where I talk to you live about a particular topic. I try to take something longer that I want to spend time on than a regular video. Oh, good. Lacey says I look good. Sounds good. Thank you, Lacey. How's Abrax doing? Yeah, Mike. They shuffled off to Buffalo, and they live up there. You guys must be covered in snow, right? Or do you live in New Hampshire? I forget. I forget. You live up at the tip top of one of those states where the Yetis and the snow beasts dwell. But so last week I did an hour video on the Justice League of America #1, an important comic. Oh, has there any? Yes, and the patriarch will be played by a black lesbian, because it's about time. Finally, the patriarch will be portrayed by a black lesbian. Oh, yes, you're in Vermont. Yes. Snow, you got snow. Hey, Genuine Comics is here. Great guy. Hey, thanks, Genuine Comic. I had a setback, and Dave Brink of Genuine Comics helped me out, and and this is why I love this corner of the internet. Independent Comics, Comicsgate, everybody's helping each other. I have not encountered jealousy. I'm not involved in anybody's feuds. I had a problem. I reached out to Genuine Comics, and he put me in contact with somebody who is just helping me out. So there you go. So let's talk about this. So last Sunday, for those of you who are here, I see a couple of these names were here. Sorry, just my computer wigged out for a second. I hope anybody didn't see a flash. But anyway, last week I did Justice League of America #1. It's an important comic. It's a super important comic. It's the first team superhero comic book of the Silver Age. You know, obviously not the Golden Age. We had the Justice Society and things like that. And the legend has it that Gardner Fox took Martin Goodman and they went and played golf, and then said, you know, you got to make a team superhero book. Superheroes are back, and team superhero books sell. So Martin Goodman told Stan Lee to make a team superhero book, but the problem was they didn't have any active superhero to make a team, so he had to start from scratch. And Stan Lee was telling his wife Joan that he was a little disillusioned, disappointed, run down. He was tired of all the crap comics that he was making. You know, he was making all the famous monster books, you know, like Groom and Gorgo and all that nonsense. And he wanted to quit and write. Remember, Stan Lee's real name was Stanley Lieber, and he took the name off the comic books because he wanted to save his name for the All-American novel, which he sadly never wrote. And he put the nom de plume Stan Lee on his comics. So his wife said, well, you're going to quit anyway. Why don't you make the comic that you wanted? You know, so he got inspired and he came up with this concept right over here. Now, him and Jack Kirby, I'm pushing it back a little bit so you can see. Him and Jack Kirby came up with this, the Fantastic Four. And it's so different than all the other teams before. And keep in mind, this is what, 1961. So superhero comics have been around for like 20 something years at this point. You know, you had the Justice Society, you had all of those public domain characters and superhero characters that came out. And this is different. So, you know, I forget. Is this less than a year after the Justice League? Is it a year after the Justice League? I forget exactly. But I'm just going to round it off, split the difference, and say a year after the Justice League, this comic comes out. Now, Stan Lee and Jack Kirby are businessmen first and foremost, excuse me. So they're hedging their bets. Marvel is selling all these monster comics. So what do? They hedge their bets. They got a monster on the cover, and they got another monster on the cover over here, Ben Grimm, the Thing, and these, you know, other monstrous, weird, strange things on the, fantastic on the cover, because you notice they're not in superhero costumes. That, that was like, we don't know. Are superheroes big? You know, I don't know. Batman and Superman and the Justice League is selling well, but that doesn't mean, they're back. So Stan and Jack hedged their bets, and they walk the tightrope between monster comics and superhero comics. A Genuine Comic says over here, the FF is strong, simple comic. That's why it works so well. Yes. I say this a lot on my channel. Simple and elegant. Simple and elegant. A simple and elegant concept, simple and elegant design goes a long way. So forgive me for being a little nervous as I open. Let me tell you how I got this. So I was a school teacher back in the way back days. Well, first, let's have some coffee, which is 2/3 Cafe Bustelo, 1/3 Tim Hortons, because I need to get off my butt and do some cleaning. And I figured a nice snow day, I have no excuse. Ooh, I'm going to be zooming. Okay, so I was a school teacher, and I was disappointed. I had lost my energy. I lost my drive. The politics was killing me. And I was, speaking of snow days, I was driving to work in a snowstorm. And I was like, oh man, wouldn't it be great if I pulled this on the steering wheel suddenly and spun out and hit a tree and went into traction, and I missed the rest of the school year? That's the way I was thinking. And then when I got to work, school was closed, and then I had to drive home. But the whole drive home, I'm like, I'm actually seriously was considering like causing an accident so I wouldn't have to go to work that I hated. So I was right then and there. I said, I need to change careers. So I changed careers. I became an electrician. So it took me 5 years of apprenticeship before I got to a level of electrician. And when I became an electrician, you get a pretty decent paycheck. I'm not rich. I'm blue collar, and even right now in Biden's America, I'm pretty comfortable, even in New York. So I got my first tax returns, and I said, with my first tax return, I'm going to buy a copy of Fantastic Four #1. So that was the limit. It had to be within my first tax return. So I went to the comic convention. They had 3 copies, and this was the only one I could afford. And you could see this. So I bought this 20 years ago, you know. So that's the story of how I got Fantastic Four #1, you know. I'd be nervous to even touch that book. Yeah. I agree with you, Tony. But comic books are meant to be opened up and read, you know. Will I CGC this book? Ask me again when I retire. It depends on how much I make when I retire. And Tony's a fellow electrician. Good morning, Allison. Good to see you. It's cool that you're here. Thank you. No, look at us lighting up the world. Yep, Tony. Now look at us lighting up the world. Tony is he's been on my channel. He did a wonderful Sunday Comics with me when we talked about Silver Surfer. Go look that up. That was awesome. That was a lot of fun. And Pete, he didn't do a Sunday Comics, but he did my proto Sunday Comics. He was on my channel before I did Sunday Comics, and we talked about Daredevil, Frank Miller's first run on Daredevil, first run of writing and drawing. So I'm opening this up very carefully, as you can all imagine. So the indicia over here. Can you read that? It says published by Kanan Publishers, 1961. So I think a little less than a year after the Justice League. Look at this muscle guy over here, and over here I'm just trying to move things around because I don't need to. I'm gonna get rid of that John's Long box because I'm really nervous about like even flaking this. Okay, so there we go. All right, so we got the Fantastic Four. We got Reed Richards, Ben Grimm, Susan Storm, Johnny Storm, and I love this little autograph over here. Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. You know, Fantastic Four. And the police. What's going on? What is that? And then look at Reed Richards. Look at all sinister over here. This panel right over here. He's standing there with the gun. What did he do? We got Sue over here. Woman about town. She's enjoying some tea. Oh, this was the first comic you ever read? Like, do you actually read this, like a copy of Fantastic Four #1 or a collected edition? You know, that what a great comic to read first. You know, geez, kind of spoils you for a lot. And you're going to see why. So Sue, she's hanging out with some high society, and she just turns invisible. And I love this. The teacup just floats away, and she's like, what's going on? And, of course, she's, you know, walking through Manhattan. You know, an invisible person walking through Manhattan. You could try to avoid people all you want, but it's crowded. People are going to bump into you. So I love this. People knocking out. Boy, what a dull day. Gets into the taxi cab, gives the guy a floating dollar. Take me to I'm getting out of here. So she can't even get a taxi ride. You know, these racists can't even give. It was digital. Fight me. You know, Lacey is goofing on that I don't like to read digital comics, but you know, not, you know, you can't always get like a good old key comic like this to read. You know what I mean? And I will be honest. If I had a reprint of this Fantastic Four, I would. That's what I would break out to read. I'm breaking this out for the purposes of this video. You know, I take it out to show people, but I don't usually take it out of the bag too often. And I gotta reposition my camera because, forgive the shakiness, I'd rather move the camera than move the comic, and I'm sure everybody could understand why. So I will not fight you, Lacey. I will not fight you because girls fight me. Just ask Allison. All right, so we got the thing over here. He's trying to buy some oversized clothes, and he sees the what's going on. Yeah, he sees the torch thing, and he takes off. Look at this. He's got this like brown diaper over here, and he's all lumpy and oatmeal looking. Just kind of scary looking. And listen to the dialogue over here. He asks for clothes that fit him, and he goes, "Bah, everywhere's the same. I live in a world too small for me. So the time has come." He goes, "What a relief to get rid of," you know, he doesn't sound like Ben Grimm yet. And I've always said this, the first 10 issues of the Fantastic Four, they were like finding their footing. You know, there was a little rough, you know, and then the concept solidified. Oh, there's more comments. Okay, I'm concentrating on this comic as I'm sure everybody can understand. So I will get to your comments. You know, I love that my channel has grown, but it's not big enough that the comments just whiz by. I really do like responding to all the comments. So one day people will be judged by the character of the content, not by the transparency of their skin. Yes, Martin Luther King famous speech. It doesn't matter if you burst into flames nor stretch or develop an oatmeal rocky hide. It's inside what counts. Very moving words, Zarkan, and I completely agree. Very moving. And people are forgetting about that. People now getting impressed by the fact that you are invulnerable or that you shoot laser beams, control the weather, and they forget it's inside that counts. Thank you, Zarkan, for keeping it real and bringing us down and bringing us back to the planet Earth. Thank you. Good morning. Hey, John. I love that John Buscema Conan. You know, it's, and again, I say this all the time. I've only started getting into Conan in like the past couple of years. Smiling Magician. Oh, wow. It's great to see a Smiling Magician. And it's also great to see new names. Thank you for showing up, Smiling Magician. I've been recently collecting and reading Fantastic Four. I started with issue 313 and oh yeah, you Smiling Magician. Not to sound like an old fogey, but the best is before that. You are going to get some really good FF stuff. Oh man, I kind of envy you. Part of me wishes I could like erase my brain and fall in love with the Fantastic Four all over again. Hail to the chat, John. Yeah, it's decent. Yes, it's decent. I'm not a good grader. I wouldn't know what number to assign it, and that number stuff is just for speculation. You know what I mean? Like you know what good condition looks like by looking at it. You don't need a number to confirm your eyeballs, you know? So anyway, we got this monstrous thing over here. This guy's in like a brownish purple suit because the color palette was limited. The cops are already on the scene. They're firing at the thing. What does he say over here? He first shot missed because you're so nervous, but he'll not get another chance. Like again, he doesn't sound like the blue-eyed ever-loving thing that we know here. And I've gone far enough. I should be under my destination, but now there's no opening. Bah, I cannot delay. I'll make an opening. You know what I mean? Like he's a monster. And I do like this. You know, it is good characterization. And to me, it is part of Ben Grimm's character arc. I don't look at this as like a flaw so much as I kind of look at Reed Richards as a flaw, you know, and then they developed him into the Reed Richards that I love. So you know, again, this is like the atoms are congealing over here for the Fantastic Four. I think the earliest issue I have is 201. It was a little beaten up, but I got it for $1. Oh, that 201. That's with it's Quasimodo. I did a showcase on 201. I remember that comic because that was the comic that my little brother was. I was reading that comic when my little brother was born in the hospital. So that's why I always remember that comic. So the thing smashed everything. The military's out, and you know, all the cops. They got all this equipment, and then we got Johnny Storm over here, who's always been pretty even. Like as far as like, you know, he's working on his hot rods. He likes his chicks. He likes his hot rods. You know, and he doesn't know what's going on. And then he sees the torch symbol, and then look at this. He's more like this, like loose. What do you call it? Like a loose pyre conflagration, you know, like unfocused, you know, fire. Like you see, I really like that to me. And I like the fact that they drew him more human shape later. To me, it just shows like he got more experience in controlling his abilities. I you know, I like that stuff. Again, the only one that I think is off is Reed Richards. Oh, what was I saying about the Ben Grimm? I liked because let's face it, if you know, Ben Grimm was a man's man. He was based on Jacob Grimm, Jack Kirby's grandfather, and he was a tough guy. He was a street punk who did good, got a scholarship to college on a sports college, made it to the military, became like a test pilot. He went into the war. He was a man's man. He was ladies' man. He was you know, enjoyed his physical body. He was you know, all around like what you wanted to be. And now he's a monster. Now he's a lumpy monster, and they kind of forgot this subplot, but he was in love with Sue Storm, and his nerdy buddy ended up with her, and he's now on the team with you know, his best friend, who's also his rival, you know, for his love. So is it any wonder that he's sore and nasty and mean. It makes sense. It's good, normal plot. And then he comes to term with it and becomes the most lovable, soft-hearted, kindest guy. And that's why I love Ben Grimm. He was dealt the harshest deck of cards, or harshest card in the deck, and didn't let it consume him. He overcame it. Whereas Johnny Storm got a cool power. He's cool. He could turn it off. It's cool, and so he loves being the Torch, to the point where he fears losing his powers, because then he would just turn into like a nobody, like, you know what I mean? So he kind of like, he has like an inferiority complex. Like, if I wasn't the Human Torch, I was just a vapid gearhead. You know what I mean? Whereas Ben Grimm, he was on his way to being a successful, happy, well-adjusted, man's man, who was dealt this, and then he overcame it. I just love it. Thank you. Oh, Marcus showed up again. I'm concentrating on the book and I'm not looking at the chat, because I'm sure you can understand why. Thank you, Marcus. This is my Substack. I will not spam you. I will not send you infinite messages and things. But what it is I'm gathering emails for so I could keep people up to date on progress for my upcoming crowdfunded comic book. It'll be released on Fund My Comic. It's called Heroic Tales. And since I'm a bad salesman, I might as well bring this up. This is the first page of this is the second page of Heroic Tales. That's the Patriarch, my character. This will be the cover to the comic. I might be tweaking it. This is all work in progress, so it might change. And this is my buddy Anton did some fan art. So this is Renzo's concept. This is the first official drawing of the Patriarch. He colored it and drew from my horrible sketches, just so he could what is the word, get a model, get a working model of the character going on. So what I'm doing is this is my Substack. So if you would sign up the Substack, I've been told that you want to get like a 200 people interested by Substack before you want to launch. It's an indicator. And like and subscribe. I always get embarrassed, trying to sell my stuff. I don't know. I guess I'm not a good salesman. I'm of the Steve Ditko school of let the work speak for itself, but I don't have the work yet. And when you're doing crowdfunded, you got to be your own Stan Lee. Do we find out why the Fantastic Four have these powers in this, or is it left to this? Like, this is how they got the powers. Does it explain like why they got the powers in like, for like, why Human Torch? They've always kind of hinted that it was because of personality. Johnny Storm was a hotshot, so he got flame powers. Reed Richards was always like, like bending to solve all the problems, so he got stretching powers. And the Thing was always like, a tough man's man. Nothing could bother him, so he got this invulnerable hide. And then the Invisible Woman, at this point, let's be honest, she really was like a shrinking violet, a wallflower. So she kind of felt like she was overlooked. And let's be honest, for the first 60 issues of the Fantastic Four, she was just the hostage, to the point where they gave her the force field powers, and that was like the beginning of her becoming like badass. But I do think it was they explained it as a some sort of like personality that interacted with the cosmic rays. Okay, so did John buy that? Oh, talking to his wife. Yes. I didn't know what Kevin was saying. I got confused. I thought I missed something important. It's just Kevin Ryan being silly. Okay, so what's going on? We got this flaming. Oh, I was talking about how his flame is like all unconcentrated and loose and sparkly. And then look at this. He just flies out of the car, wrecking everything. Like they're amateurs. So to put everything in role-playing terms, this is first level characters. They got like no experience points. They're first level. They don't know how to use their powers. They need to train up and boost up those stats. and flying away. So he doesn't, he's not in control of his powers. And now the National Guard is seeing a flaming, they don't know, is it a missile? Is it a torpedo? And they're sending out jets to intercept. So what's he doing? He's wrecking millions of dollars worth of military equipment. This should put him in prison for life. And I love how they also show that everybody's he's not killing anybody. They're parachuting to safety. But where do these tons of melted slags like land? You know what I mean? And here comes a heat-seeking missile. And then all of a sudden these stretched arms get it and throw it in the water. And I love this is a weakness. Again, he's first level superhero. He expended his flame power and it shuts off, and now Reed has to save him. Why? Well, I don't think it was kind of like they were like, oh, we're gonna give him a limit. I think it was just, oh, this is a good way to show what Reed Richards' powers is. He could stretch. And here is the first group shot over here of them all. Oh, you're watching the show with no sound. You're watching the show with no sound. Why? Don't you want to hear my lovely voice, my lovely New York accent? Marcus is laughing. And look at how good the Kirby storytelling. Oh, yes. Thank you for bringing that up. Thank you for bringing that up. I got 17 people watching right now. Is this easy to tell the story? Now, again, not to single out Allison, but my friend Allison is new to comics. So, I'm sure she doesn't know this, but I'm sure everybody else does. And that is not meant to be mean to Allison. That's just the way it is. Comic books are supposed to be read with like a Z pattern. It's the typical Z pattern. Will Eisner brings that up. Even within the Paladin, even within the Paladin, even within the panel, there's supposed to be a Z. So you start like this within the panel, and then you also go like this on the page. That's how American Western comic books are. I'm not an expert on manga. I've read a few manga. I don't know. Does manga follow this? I know you're supposed to true manga, you read the other way. So I don't know. I imagine it's a backwards Z. As I drink more of this Cafe Bustelo, my heart's going to pop out of my chest like the alien. And yes, this is amazing storytelling. Now, Kirby, I'm sure Kevin Ryan could tell me, Kirby has over a decade, 20 years of experience at this point. And I always forget that Jack Kirby was significantly older than Stan Lee at this point, or at all points. But storytelling is the ability for you, the reader, to pick up what's going on, to pick up the story without reading. And you better believe whenever Renzo sends me layouts, I always check. That's more important it's more important to me that the story can be conveyed than how cool they are. You know what I mean? Although everything is important, but without storytelling, everything else doesn't matter. Storytelling is to me the most important. And this is awesome storytelling. It's without reading the story, what's going on. You don't know why a flare was shot up, but you do know. And and here we got them all assembled. Okay. Again, every time I turn the page, I get a little nervous. So as I turn the page, let's look at the comments. So thank you, Marcus, for bringing that up. Manga is read bass backwards. Yes. It took me a second to get that. Took me some time to learn the patterns. The position of the paddles flow in odd ways. Sometimes you recognize, yes. And then every once in a while, you will see, and Haldir is, oh, yes, Grey Wolf, thank you for popping in. Sometimes you will actually see they physically draw arrows because they recognize that the panel composition is not intuitive. But Kirby is just so intuitive with his storytelling and his panel composition. So here we have this first classic shot of the Fantastic Four. So then over here is telling us that it's the back. This is in the past. We got Reed Richards. We got Ben Grimm over here. What my second favorite superhero. My first is Superman. But Ben Grimm will always have a special place in my heart. It's funny, when they talk about my representation, there's my representation over there. A big, ugly guy with the heart of gold. And there's Jean Grey, and then that's Jean Grey. That's Susan Storm and her little brother Johnny Storm, who is related to Chili Storm, you know, the model character. And what are they doing? You want to fly to the stars, then you pilot the ship. Count me out. You know, we don't have enough research into the effects of cosmic rays. They might kill us out in space. Ben, we've got to take that chance, unless we want the commies to beat us to it. Yes, you see, there's always been politics in comics. There's always been politics in comics. We gotta beat those damn commies, you know. So forgive me for stirring up trouble, but I'm going to take a picture of that panel to put it in Ron Mars's feed when he's bringing up that there's always been politics in comics, and I'll say this: the comics have always hated those dirty commies. So there you go. I'm pre-causing trouble. So nobody calls me a coward. You know, I never thought you would be a coward. I'm not a coward. And they're flying. So Reed Richards designed the spaceship. He's going to fly the spaceship. There's no reason that these two are here. You know, what they should have done. Good comment, Marcus. If you had to draw our arrows, the storytelling isn't that good. Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, and you do see it once in a while. I think that's like an editor must have been like, you know, this is confusing over here. You're gonna have to draw arrows to guide the reader. So what are they doing? They're Susan. Why you comment? Don't say it. I'm your fiance. I go where you go. So she's going because she's the fiance. Ta-da! And he's going because he's the fiance's brother. No, to me that was like the biggest flaw of the Fantastic Four. Like, it's been hand waved, but it really, really should have been explained. Like, they needed a 4-man crew. They needed a 4-man crew. One person flying the ship, one person reading the navigation charts, you know, one person checking shielding or whatever, you know, and you know, whatever. They needed to come up with the reason why Sue and Johnny are on board, and they didn't. So to me, that's always been a flaw. And here's the ship flying out. Now, keep in mind, this is before the Apollo mission. This is 1961. And to me, if they make a Fantastic Four movie, it's got to have like a Mad Men aesthetic. I know Pete and Allison love Mad Men like I did, but just imagine this is, you know, shot in that same early 60s. Oh my God, that is the only way to do the Fantastic Four. And then they have access to a time machine, or they go faster than light and they come back in the modern times, you know, but their first adventure should be in the 60s. Oh my God, it's the only way to do a Fantastic Four movie. So everything's behaving perfect except for the cosmic rays. So they fly off to space. Now, in real space, you know, Stan and Jack really did a lot of reading. They did a lot of research, believe it or not. And they knew that, what's it called? The Van Allen belt. The Van Allen belt is filled with cosmic rays. Cosmic rays are a real thing. Now, I know what they thought. It just hit me, the FF of the Beatles of Marvel. Yeah. Well, Fantastic Four, the Fab Four. Yeah. The Beatles. Did the Beatles come out yet? Is this pre-Beatles, or is this? I forget what year that the Beatles, you know, made it big. I know they didn't come to America yet. But this is the Van Allen radiation belt. It's a real thing. It really is a problem that they were worrying about the shielding for ships, and it's one of those things that that people who claim the moon landing was a hoax, that you can't get past the Van Allen radiation belt and blah blah blah. I'm not a scientist. I love science. I love science fiction. So I'm always reading about it, and you know, I'm a bad person because I like to do my own research. But cosmic rays, I think in like the 1960s, they thought they were background radiation from the Big Bang. That is just, you know, space is filled with it, and the ozone layer protects us from them. And then other people think that it is like solar particles that are hitting the Earth's magnetic field, and then they're getting changed into cosmic. I don't know. I don't know. But the truth is that there are cosmic rays out there. And most likely, if you hit them, you would just fry like radiation, you know, just super cancer or microwave or whatever. So they're hitting them. And I always love this. Yeah, I don't know why that sound effect has been with me since I was a kid. I never read Fantastic Four, the physical copy, as a kid, but I did read a lot of reprints of it. And I've always remembered this panel. and you better believe if they have a Fantastic Four movie and they don't have sound effect in the back, then they failed the movie. They failed the movie, and it's getting through the shielding. Johnny Storm's, I'm burning up. Ben Grimm is like, I'm getting heavy. You know, God, that must be terrifying. He must feel like he's having a heart attack in space. And as I turn the page, I will look at that'll look at the Beatles to the, yeah, I know they came to the United States in 64, but were they big in England at this point? I forget. I think not yet. I love the Beatles, but I don't have their time schedule memorized. So here we have this crash, and they're coming out. You know, he's helping his fiance. Look at the simple coloring. Ben Grimm is in the front, he's in the back, but what's important now is their interaction right there. And you know, we got this blue sky over here. Why is the sky red? And why is it? Because we can't have the panels have the same background. Most of the panel is the sky, and if we colored it the same in every panel, to your eye, it would just be a mishmash, a mosh of all the colors. So this is just color theory that these early colorists have figured. Remember, this is hand painted. So if this was all the same background, because it's the same backdrop, it would just be a page of blue and everything would smear together. So I just love that stuff. It's stuff I don't think about except now. As pretentious as the sound, I'm an art director now. I'm seeing artwork coming in, and I have to change things, and I have to look at things, you know, and you know, so ultimately everything's gonna be on me for her tale. So I feel strange. What's wrong? She's fading away. It's impossible. You can't see me anymore. You know, there's no way of no. And on myself again. What happened? And then we got this demonic looking Bing Cosby over here with a foot fetish. You know. What he wanted you to do is he would send you these shoes, you try them on, and then you run around the neighborhood and mail them back, and he'll give you $20 for the stinky, smelly shoes. Mason, the foot fetish freak. Ask Allison about her brush with the foot fetish maniac. All right. One thing about early Marvels that no one talked about is Stan Goldberg coloring. He was not afraid to use a single like red or B in the foreground, like in panel 2. Yes. Stan Goldberg. He did a lot of early Marvel. I think he was one of the people that helped like train the next wave of colorists, and then he was recruited by Archie, and he worked under a pseudonym for Stan. He was doing Chili the redheaded model that I like that comic, and make no bones about it, I don't believe in guilty pleasures. So what's going on? Oh yeah, you know, and Ben's like, keep in mind, Ben still thinks he has a chance with her at this point, and he's like, I'm sick of you. You know what? How do you know, wise guy? How do you know she won't turn invisible again? How do you know that won't happen to the rest of us? He's like, I'm sick of your insults and your complaining. I didn't purposely cause, you know, I'm sick of you. In fact, I'm going to paste you right in that smug face of yours. Stop what you're changing. Don't try to talk your way out of it. Boom. He just grabs this. You know, I always love that panel. This panel is just awesome. Grabs the tree, and then Reed is evading. Whoop. He's stretching. What's going on? You turn into monsters, both of you. Those terrible cosmic rays turning you into monsters. And boom, look. I always love this. He bursts into flame, and I'm lighter than air. I could fly. You know, I always love that. Like, Bill Willingham had a comic called The Elementals, and the Elementals had the 4 elements as power. One of them was Morningstar, and she could have flame power, but she couldn't fly. And the people in the comments, the letters pages, how come she can't fly? And he's like, you know, if you light a log on fire and you fire, does it fly? Because the Human Torch has thrust capabilities, you know, so it's fire and thrust, you know, so he's the Human Jet, more accurately. The name of the Human Torch always bothered me. As much as I love the Fantastic Four, it's one of those things like repetition makes it sound normal, but I've always hated the name the Human Torch. He should have been the Human Jet, which is a name I'm probably going to steal and put into my account. How could I steal it? I'm making it up. So now the flames subside. They cause fire, and he's like, listen to me, all of you. This means you too, Ben. Together we have more power than any humans have. We got to use our powers to help mankind. You see, he's monstrous. He's bitter, but he's still got a heart of gold. So I'm calling myself the Human Torch, and I'm with you all the way. Same goes for me, the Invisible Girl. The only thing missing is Ben. Well, Ben, I ain't Ben anymore. Susan called me a thing, so I'm the thing, and I'll call myself Mr. Fantastic. There's a great Norm Macdonald comedy sketch. Look up Norm Macdonald Fantastic Four. You know, it's pretty funny about this page. How many comedy stand-up comedians actually have a routine of comedy about a specific page of a comic book? Well, Norm Macdonald does. He's a famous comic book fan. Ben looks like a young John Madden. Well, right here, right? So the Fantastic Four was born. Note they don't have any costumes, and note that the cosmic rays also altered their clothes and gave Reed the idea for unstable molecules, a name that I've always hated because to me it sounded like radiation or cosmic, like it sounded like something that if you were unstable molecules, you would die. But in my superhero game, I call it proto matter. I don't know. Is it a better name? Proto matter. All the UK's readers assuming the Human Torch has flashlight power. Oh yeah, I didn't even think of that. Yeah. Okay, so now we got the Mole Man. They meet the Mole Man, and that's why in the Incredibles they fight the Underminer, because it is an homage to the Mole Man, which is a great superhero name. Oh my God, the Underminer is such a great name. So now Reed calls them all together. So flashback is over. We gather them all together because with the flare, and here we go. Look at this. There's a big hole behind the Iron Curtain. What happened to it? Same thing that happened. We don't need no stinking backgrounds over here. Just a sickly green color, and he's followed on his seismic machine. And, where is this now? The impulses say that there's going to be another one of these seismic incidents. What's happening is they're taking nuclear power plants and they're just being sucked up into sinkholes. So now this is in French Africa. The Frenchies we read, you can't see the loaves of French bread under their arms, but they're there. And boom, a sinkhole just appears and pulls this atomic plant out. And then look at these. I love this. This is just such a great panel. What is this? I love the plates. You could just see the awesome power of this creature, and then this drives me nuts. There's actual tape over here. So this tape that I'm afraid to remove from the comic, and this creature just crushes the tank. I will move the camera rather than the comic. And such a master, the monster needs its master, a master known as the Mole Man. The Mole Man. Wow, it looks just great, just great. And as I turn the page, you saw the tape flash. I've always, would I have bought it if I known that there was tape? Yeah, because it was really the only one. Literally, the next up in quality was like double the price. So what does Marcus say? I don't hate any of the names. It all works for me. It's a comic. The science doesn't. Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I know. The Human Torch. I don't know. I still don't like the Invisible Girl is good. She became the Invisible Woman on the John Byrne run. Mr. Fantastic. What else were you going to call him? Stretch Man, Rubber Guy. Mr. Fantastic's perfectly good name. Just the Human Torch. The name, the Human Torch. As I choke to death on coffee. So the seismologist machine is tracking, and they're going to Monster Island, which I love this vaguely human face over here. So Monster Island, it's in the Pacific. Like they didn't mention that it was, but later on they say it's near Japan and it's the source of all the kaiju. I love that. I love that because the superhero genre is my favorite genre, without a doubt. Why? Because it's science fiction. Why? Because it's mythological. Why? Because it's religious. Why? Because it's kaiju. It's ninjas. It's cowboys. Everything fits into superhero genre. It is so good that it's limited only by your imagination. Like Westerns, you have to have certain things. Well, you have to have certain things for superpowers too, but you could also have everything else. Whereas Westerns, it comes to a certain point where it's not a Western. It even tells you like the geographic location. Like you could have superheroes set in another galaxy. So here they are. They're going to Monster Island. There's their plane out in the water. And what they look down into this crevasse and they see these eyeballs. And what is this? We got this definitely Walmart. They got this Harry Hussein. I could never pronounce his name correctly. Monster that comes out, and I I could just in my head, guys, I got 18 of you watching. Let me know in the comments. When you read a comic book, does your brain animate it? And if it's difficult for your brain to animate it, to me, that's an indication of a lack of art. But when I see a comic that I just get drawn in with the flowing storytelling, like to me, I take it back. If it's not animated in your head, that's more of a storytelling problem than an art problem. I misspoke. If it has good storytelling, it flows so well that your brain, like right over here from this panel to this panel, my brain is filling in the gaps, and I'm not even joking. It moves in my head. My brain is animated. Maybe that's why I don't. Oh wow! I just thought of something by saying it out loud. Maybe that's why I don't like those digital comics that like move, because my brain is doing it. My brain's doing it better. So turn invisible. So she turns invisible, and this creature can't see. And then Reed makes a lasso out of his arm, and I love that they got baseball caps. He slings it and causes it to go into the water, which causes it doesn't cause it. The mole man now is causing a cave in, so they fall down, and Reed makes a parachute. Just so good. Just so good. Just so good. And let me be careful when I turn the page. For those of you keeping track, this is now the 19th page of story. And let's look at the comments. It's everything in the kitchen sink. Yes, that is the hallmark of superheroes. It is everything. It is everything thrown in, and everything fits. Sometimes I try to stop and animate what they drew to make sense. Like in your brain, homie. Like, first of all, thank you, my homie and personal rival, L.E. McComics. Thank you. Are you talking about like you animated on yourself with the computer, pen and paper? Or are you talking about you animated your brain? Because I do. Like when I play my role-playing games, my superhero role-playing games, when I think about the story, like the next day at work or whatever, I don't think of Roy and Jimmy sitting at the table rolling dice. There's a cartoon going on in my head, that I remember. I remember the images, but I remove the die rolling and the paper, and it just becomes a story in my head. What do we have? How there? I read a page first, then look at the art, then imagine the scenes in motion. Okay, I'm trying to become more conscious of my whole process of actually reading a comic, and I think Haldir is right. I kind of read first, then I look at the page, and then like if there's an ad like over here, the process of turning the page, I think I'm filling in the gaps in my brain. Yes, in my brain. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's to me that means you got a good imagination there, homie. My homie. I just laughed at me, 55-year-old guys saying my homie. So they fell out and it's dark. What's going on? They can't keep this color scheme up, but this opening panel, let you know it's dark. Boom, they are in the darkness. Now blue, because it's visual shorthand for darkness. It's dark, and then boom, the light is so bright, it's like an explosion. And the light, man, I don't know about you guys, but I get nervous. I get scared whenever I see damage to eyeballs. I guess it's like as you get older, your eyes get more sensitive or less sensitive or whatever. But I panic if I can't find my glasses. I panic if I get a bright light in my eyes. So this light is so bright, it knocks them unconscious. Oh my God, that is, to me, maybe that's not scary to you, but to me, it's scary. And they wake up in these suits, and even this bothers me in a good way. Like, it's good storytelling. The suit doesn't quite fit him. Who are you? I can't see. Like, this ill-fitting suit, and it's just too big for, I don't know. Everything about this is made to make you feel uncomfortable. And behold, the Valley of the Diamonds. This is the source of the Mole Man's wealth. Underneath Monster Island, there's enough diamonds that the Mole Man never needs to worry about money. So we know right away, this guy's motivation is not wealth. And once you remove wealth from the equation, the motivation, it kind of like, oh my God, like, is he creepy? Is he evil? Is he monstrous? Like, we can all understand wealth as a motivation, but right away, this guy's not motivated by wealth. What is this? It makes him a scarier and more like, I don't know, mysterious, creepy villain, which is exactly what he's supposed to be. Given the fact that the Mole Man I love the character, but the Mole Man is a name that if you say the Mole Man to people that are not into comic books, they're kind of going to goof on you. Oh wow. Uh, okay, Zactan. I animate automatically if I can. Some panels have to examine to figure out what's happening. I don't mind having to examine it, but yeah, I, uh, Zarkan, I think you just articulated the way I feel about early Image comics. You can't animate them. They are static. They are static panels that really don't have a connection to the next panel. Like look at this. They're right here. This is Johnny Storm is facing this way. He's still facing that way. The camera rotates, but it makes sense because Reed, if we rotate the camera, Reed should be over here. This is all, either Jack Kirby just instinctively knew this, which he probably did because the man was, or he stopped and he literally thought about positioning and rotating 3D models in his head. It is over here. It's okay to invert to flip them because we understand that it's a break in time. But just this sequence right here, just the placement, it shows a master craft and it causes a seamless flow of the action that is easy for your brain to animate. And if you can't, and that's why Image Comics, to me, the first 5 years of Image Comics, they were so jarring and I can't even think of the right word, but I'm sure somebody could fill in the right word. But they were just disjointed. There's the word. They were just disjointed to me that I didn't enjoy them. Thank you, Zarkon, for that comment. You really articulated my thoughts. Thank you, bro. I'm a 43-year-old rapper. Homie is perfectly acceptable. Okay, so I got my homie card from MC Tony Dimes, and Tony Dimes has you go to Spotify and check out his rap song Sunday Gravy. And it's Sunday, so that's what you got to do. It's Sunday Gravy. I don't make the rules. Yeah, my eye pain is scary. I turned on night vision at this laptop today, and it started taking more breaks. It helped a lot. Oh, okay, yeah. If it's funny because one of my friends was looking at my phone, and when he turned it on, he was like, "Oh my god, it's so bright!" Like his eyes teared up. I'm like, I need the light, and I made the fonts bigger because I'm a 55-year-old man. So boys, sell some grit. A $2,000 reward for this 1804 coin. And here we got the Mole Man's secret. So we got this half panel over here of Sue. What's going on? She's turned invisible because in my mind, they said it later on, but it causes effort to use your superpowers. So like Sue can't just turn invisible and stay invisible forever. It's almost like flexing some sort of muscle. Sooner or later, she needs to, relax and turn visible to catch her breath. So she's doing that, and this monster can see her. But over here, Ben Grimm ain't gonna let it. Look at that, the thing. Duck out of the way, Sue. Let me handle him. And we got this rock over here and then different grades for the background. Why? Because again, color theory, we cannot have all the pages, all the panels with the same background. You see, even over here, different for the sky. I know I harp on that a lot, but it's if you look at a lot of modern comics, the sky is always colored the same. Now, unless you drastically change the point of view, that is going to cause, and it does cause us a visual melange of colors that just makes it hard to differentiate each panel, and everything just becomes like a stew. Marcus over here. Marcus is in my corner. Completely agree about Image. Yes, I know. I whenever I harp on Image, you can see a couple of people like they cringe, you know what I mean? Because it's definitely the age difference. It's definitely the age difference. People who, cut their eye teeth on Image Comics. And I understand that. That's an emotional response. That's what they grew up on. That was their wonder years. So I'm not here to hurt anybody's feelings. There's also slowing down the storytelling like George Perez. Somebody's pushing the button for everything to go boom, and then we get 10 panels of George Perez is wonderful at that. The panel that just popped into my mind, the page that just popped into my first off, Stripling Vaughn, thank you for showing up and thank you for the comment. I love what is your picture? That's a pen. Okay, I'm going to make the erroneous assumption that you're like an architect or an engineer based on that image. What you said, like George Perez. There's this big fight scene of in the new Teen Titans of Terra. I should do that for Sunday Comics. Oh yeah, I should break out some more George Perez. Thank you for this comment, Stippling. He's fighting the Deathstroke, the Terminator is fighting the Titans, and Terra just turned traitor, and she's fighting back, and she ends up dying. Spoiler alert for a 40-year-old comic, and everything just stops, and there's one full page of these long, they call them slice shot, vertical slices of just everybody reacting, and then Garfield Logan holding the body of the woman, and oh man, it is just cinema. There's no other way to describe it. And we got Haldir saying hello. So let's get back to this. So the Thing runs out, and keep in mind, in his mind, he's protecting the woman that he loves. He lost her to for now. Not only did he lose her to his romantic rival, but he lost her to horrors of mutation. Nobody's going to love this. Nobody's going to love this. And to the fact that, and that's kind of a creepy thing that they bring up, that Alicia Masters looks exactly like Susan Storm, except her hair color, to the point the puppet master dyed her hair to trick everybody to think that Sue Storm was in danger. That's another one of those things that like we don't really bring up anymore, kind of like how Xavier was horny for a 16-year-old girl. Stippling. Nah, like my name, I stipple my art. Okay, so you're an artist. Okay. Here's Stippling Voice channel, and you can watch him stipple. Yeah. Everybody, let's watch Stippling Vaughn stipple. I just like saying the word stipple. Marcus is a great moderator. Look at this. He's right. He's Johnny on the spot. Johnny on the spot. I'll leave this up for a second because I really liked his comment. Really like it. He gave me an idea for next week. All right. So I love this. He's just beating the crap out of this monster. He throws him in the water, and then they run. They're not there to beat the crap out of and murder these monsters. Why? They are good guys. And these monsters, for all they know, are just animals acting out of instinct. So now we got the Mole Man on his throne. I love this. He's got like lost artifacts, lost Rembrandts and stuff just hanging up because that's, he wants to surround himself with beauty. So, and now we have the origin of the Mole Man. How did he get here? What is this place? You see this bubble? This means break in time. So this is like parentheses. So this is the origin of the Mole Man. And I always laugh at this for a story that I'll tell when I'm done with this page. So it all started long ago because the people of the surface world mocked me. What? Me go out with you? Don't make me laugh. I know you're qualified, but you can't work here. You'd scare our other employees. Hey, is that your face you're wearing? Or a mask? Ha ha. So he's so ugly, he had no choice but to go to the North Pole and, leave mankind. He is so ugly, you got no choice but to leave. So here he is, a brilliant guy. What is the word? An incel? He's an incel. He's just going off. He crash lands and he finds this hole in the earth and he falls 1,000 feet below to the land of the lost. And now he's stranded, into the darkness. That's his origin. He's so ugly, he must live underground. I love that. He's not motivated by wealth. He's motivated by, you guys made fun of me. Well, I'm just going to be a jerk and mess with you. That's it. He's the ultimate incel. And what we got this comment? And he comments on the current state of CG crowd. Oh, cool. Mark, Stippling, could you send me an email at johnslongbox@yahoo.com or look me up on Twitter and DM me, send me a message, let's talk. Maybe we'll be on each other's channels or whatever. That's cool. It's cool. I will definitely get it if you send me an email at johnslongbox, all one word, at yahoo.com. If Marcus, if you could put my Twitter handle and my email in the comments, that would be wonderful. Thank you. So, and here's the funny story that I always wanted to talk about. It was my friend Robert and I were reading comics and talking about oh, thank you, Stippling, or should I call you Vaughn? But we were talking about like casting the perfect Fantastic Four movie, and he always said Jackie Gleason should be the Thing, and so we were going around, like we both agreed that Christopher Walken should be Galactus. And then we were talking about the Mole Man, and we were quiet for a while, and he started laughing, and he said Marlon Brando. He goes, but Marlon Brando, like weeks before he died, Marlon Brando, like from Island of Dr. Moreau, Marlon Brando. And it's just like, oh, yeah. He goes, and then we were just laughing, like thinking about that, like the agent, the conversation. It's like, hey, ready to work. You got anything for me? He's talking to his agent, and his agent's like, oh yeah, we got this Wonder Woman, the Fantastic Four. Those Marvel movies. Yeah. So that'll be easy. Just, stand on a green screen and sit in a chair, and and then they pay me. He's like, yeah, perfect. We got a role that's perfect for you. In the Fantastic Four. Oh, like Reed Richards. I could be like the handsome. No, the Mole Man. You'd be perfect for the Mole Man. Mole Man? What? He's so ugly that he has to live underground. And Marlon Brando's like, you got to be effing kidding me. We just laughed. I don't know. Is that funny to you? I thought that was funny to me. Marlon Brando, his agent telling him he'd be perfect for the Mole Man. There are lots of Vaughns, but only one Stippler. Okay. Doesn't he realize that wealth can increase his appearance? Yes. Yeah. There was something going around on Twitter the other day about this billionaire with these like hot chicks behind him, and he's like insulting them and being nasty, I was going to make a comment, but I will leave that to the imagination. Yes. John's Longbox email, johnslongbox@yahoo.com. Thank you. So, anybody wants to contact me, this is really the best way, because I obsessively check my email like a coffee break, lunch break, and then on my commute home. So I will definitely see it. So now he's explaining everything, that he was exposed to the unnatural radiations of the underground, a nice Marlon Brando impersonation. Thank you. And I did it without stuffing my cheeks with cotton. So, he's developed like a radar sense, from these. They explain it that there's these fumes and chambers with these gas. I really like that. I just love it. To me, the underground, I don't believe in the hollow earth or anything like that, but I do love the idea that in the crust of the earth, there's these caverns and caves with like hermetically sealed chambers filled with like these unexplored gases, and maybe mushroom funguses that could cause mutations, and what are they called, like mutagens and stuff. And that's what they're exploring here. And so now he's like, look, check out my power. So now what's he doing? He's just flexing. He doesn't know that this is the Fantastic Four. This Fantastic Four, their first level superheroes, and he's just showing them. Mole Man is blind. He wears these glasses to enhance his bad sense, and he has a radar sense, and he's able to dodge, and he beats the crap out of Reed Richards with the stick, and he's explaining these holes. Now, these are holes throughout the entire earth, whatever. Can he do that because the earth is molten and whatever, or are they just tunnels through the crust? Who knows? Or is it just magic science that he's able to make stable tunnels through the magma, whatever? Doesn't matter. So like when you read comic books, there's suspension of disbelief. And if you can't believe it, then it's just not explained well enough, or it's just such a, I was gonna say it's a bad concept, but no, there aren't really no bad concepts in superhero stuff. It's just bad execution. The stupidest concept could be made well with a good execution. So now he's pulling this lurch. Oh, you rang, and then this monster comes out. I love this monster. He's like, I got to burn my way out of the monkey boy suit. This monkey boy suit, and good boy Torch, and it's gonna get warm. Look at this background. Why is it blue? Because they already did yellow and white over here. They could have colored another color, but the blue works really well with this red. And he's fighting this monstrous foe. Oh, let me move the camera. I'm sorry. Again, I don't want to move the comic as much. I'm sure everybody can understand. So look at this. Reed takes off the suit. She's standing there going, oh my God, I'm a cipher. I'm nobody. And he's stretching. So now I think the Mole Man is taken by surprise, because he doesn't really know who it is he captured. This is the thing about the Mole Man. He hates everybody. He ran away underground because everybody made fun of him. It hurt his feelings. Now, this is why I love Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. Think about this. only the most sensitive person in the world would go to such extremes. You know, if you're like, oh, Mole Man, he just hates everybody. He would just stay in Manhattan or Denver or wherever he lived. If he just hated you, it wouldn't bother you. He'd just get some job, live in his house, you know, sit in his underwear, eat crackers all day long, you know, and who cares? But no. Why did the Mole Man react this way? Because he's sensitive. Why is he secretly loves people. He wants to be around people. He wants to fit in. Only the ultimately sensitive person would react like this. A person who truly didn't care, you know, those people are still around. So he reacted so crazily because he wants human contact so bad. Does that make sense? I love that kind of stuff. I love the way Jack and Stan could make villains this deep. So why he's bragging, he's showing off. In as much as he wants human contact, as much as he wants friendship, he's bad at it, you know. And he's like, you know, I guess now we'd call him like an autistic or whatever. And he's just freaking out because he doesn't know how to make friends, you know. He look, I got wealth, I got this, I got radar sense. Like, you know, we all had that guy who thought the best way to become friends was to show you all of his stuff. If I surround myself and wear the coolest clothes, I had a friend whose brother was extremely handsome. Geez, like a movie star handsome. But the guy could not get a girlfriend because he was so weird and awkward. And some girl made a comment that you'll never have a girlfriend as long as you wear those shoes. So he just like, oh, okay. So he went and he got another pair of shoes and he was just like, why can't I get a girlfriend? I got different shoes. Like, that's how weird his brain worked. You know what I mean? And again, with this, I remember when I met this guy, I was like, oh my God, this is like the most handsome man in the world, but he was just, you know, weird. And that, well, and so just imagine being that weird and then ugly and whatever. Wow, I just lost like 26 viewers talking about my friends. But so now the Mole Man is calling all the monsters, and what is the Human Torch is burning his way out, and they're flying away. And then the U.S. military has found the source of all of the atomic plants, so they're just blowing it up. It's the end of the Mole Man, end of the creatures. That's the best way. There's no place for him now. Well, perhaps he'll find peace down there. So they don't think he's dead. They know he's not dead. And more of the Fantastic Four later. And is the last page. Is this jerk learning electronics? And here's this art. And now I'm going to put this back into the bag immediately because you guys can all understand. So for those of you who were here last week, or anybody who's also read Justice League #1, forgive the glare. What do you think? This is what do you think? You all know what I think. Oh, Marcus, I didn't notice this because I was concentrating in the comment. Thank you. That's my Twitter. My John's Longbox Twitter got nuked because I got into an argument with somebody. I'm my own worst enemy. So now I'm using this one that I've had since, like, I don't know, 20 years. So this is my original one. I hate that it says Zentori because I would like, my old one said J Longbox and it was just easy. And people knew who I was talking about. Well, people knew who they were talking about, but whatever. This is leagues better than that JLA. Yes. So if you watched last week's Justice League, I didn't like that comic because it was pandering to kids. It was children's story. We're doing it this way because we're doing it this way. You know, this is unique. This is different. This is a milestone. This, oh, Levi, look at this. It's a master class in comics making. Yes. This is 1960. So we're talking 40, 70, 80, 40, 60 years ago. Holy mackerel. Oh my God. 60 years ago, give or take. And this is it any wonder this took off? Is it any wonder this was a phenomenon? We had a great villain with kooky, but kooky motivation, but it made sense. The guy made sense. The team didn't break up until like just Magic Science of the Week. The science kind of made sense. It made sense in a comic book world. In a funny comic book world, but it was logical. The internal. There was really no Deus Ex Machina. There was no like coincidences that saved the day. Like, if you remember from last week, Barry Allen just happened to drive through a blue aura that coincidentally saved everything. This was all perfect, self-contained, good origin. That they don't have costumes, but I think that was more of a of a product of a we hedging our bets. We didn't really know about superheroes, if superheroes were gonna be a thing or not. So they kind of made them walk that line between monster, because there was the challenges of the unknown, that Kirby did work on, that people say this is like the challenges of the unknown is like the first run of the Fantastic Four, and that's a great argument. It's a master class. So Movement is one of my favorite because it's my first. Yeah. Oh, Mole Man is okay. Movement. I didn't really know, but the Mole Man is one of my favorite because it's my first comic. What a great first comic, man! That was great. I have to read more classic American comic. Where are you from, Haldira? I'm more familiar with manga. Where do you live? Curse you, autocorrect. Yes, autocorrect has been the bane of my existence. Happy Sunday chat. Yeah, thank you, everybody. How far this? I think they introduced costumes in issue 3. I think issue 2 is one of the only Fantastic Fours I'm missing, and so I need to pick up issue number 2. But issue 3, I think, is when they get costumes. Oh, you're in Winnipeg. My wife is from Winnipeg. So there you go. This is just a phenomenal comic, a milestone. If you watched last week's Sunday Comics with the Justice League, and the only this should crystallize and scream to the heavens why Marvel Comics, why Stan and Jack are revered the way they are. This is light years ahead. This is just a different storytelling. This was notice it doesn't say Marvel Comics on this. This is considered the first Marvel comic. We got the MC over here, but this is the beginning of the Marvel age of comics right here, and this is the way going forward. What was next? I'm sure Kevin Ryan will know, or Marcus. Was Spider-Man the next thing? Was it Spider-Man? And then I know the Avengers popped up later because we had to have the Hulk, but it was just, so Spider-Man, Hulk, Iron Man, all of these heroes started to be Ant-Man. It was just light years ahead of Marvel. They were human beings with powers and flaws. They weren't like the gods, like the color yellow. People get mad when I talk about the Green Lantern. I just don't like the Green Lantern. I'm in Winnipeg. All right. I remember Reed developing unstable atoms for Johnny. Yeah, unstable molecules. Unstable molecules. One of the greatest and craziest concepts in comics. I love it, to the point where in my comic Heroic Tales, they will be wearing proto matter. That's how costumes withstand superbuilt, by proto matter. It's a psychoactive material mined from another dimension, which will have a story in itself, because I'm a crazy person. Gromit did a nice homage to challenges and FF with the challenges of the Fantastic. Yes. What Vaughn is talking about is in the 90s, Marvel and DC weren't doing too well. This was after the speculative, and they needed to do something to get money. So they had to come up with something that the fans would like. So they'd made Amalgam Comics. And Amalgam Comics was, just imagine if Marvel and DC were one company from the beginning. So they merged everything. So they made like a Dark Claw. And Dark Claw was Batman and Wolverine smushed together. Well, the Fantastic Four and the Challengers of the Unknown was smushed together, and they made a comic called Challengers of the Fantastic. And Amalgamated was like printing money. It was a success. People loved it. People like Superman and Captain America merged into Super Soldier. I think it was Storm and Wonder Woman merged into like Amazon or something like that. I forget, but they were great. They were a lot of fun. And I think what happened was there was a feud between Dan Didio and Joe Quesada, or yeah, I think it was that, and that caused them to stop working together. Yes, it was molecules. It wasn't unstable atoms. It was unstable molecules. Lacey wanted to try comics, so I gave her this to read. Oh, what a good read! I'm curious. My friend Allison really liked the JLA. She likes these old fashioned costumes. So costumes. She liked these old fashioned comics. So I wonder if Pete is Allison still watching. How did she like this Fantastic Four? I just found this to be. I started buying comics in the mid '80s. So it was Storm versus Callisto X-Men. Oh, that was a good comic too. That was a great run. And we get the thumbs up from Postmaster. So, well, I was just about to say, what was I about to say? Oh, well, I can't remember. So, challenge, so I gave you this. I started buying it. I forget what I was going to say. It went Ant-Man and the Hulk, then Spider-Man. Oh, okay. Okay. So he's giving me a chronological. So after this, it was Ant-Man, then the Hulk, then Spider-Man, and then what? Then Iron Man. You asked what that lady thought of yes. So Allison, my friend Allison, Roberti, she really liked the Justice League. Oh, great. I got my thought back. Thank you, Michael. Thank you. And hello, Michael. I think it's pretty clear that the Justice League of America was pandering to children. I don't think that the creators really thought highly of the medium, and I don't think that they thought that it was a work of art. It was just like disposable trash. Let's publish this. They didn't really, it was written by editorial fiat. They came up with a cover and then they worked backwards from that. This, I truly believe 100%. This was Stan Lee and Jack Kirby elevating the medium, making comic books better. They were not pandering to children. They were not writing to dummies. This wasn't just like bubble gum and you spit it out when the flavor is gone. This was something that they were taking seriously, and it shows. It absolutely shows. And this is why I was a Marvel guy. Stuff like this. They took the audience seriously. And Stan Lee said he started getting fan letters from college kids, and then Stan Lee famously said that he wanted to make the X-Men, and he wanted to name the X-Men the Mutants. And Martin Goodman said, you can't call them the mutants. Nobody knows what a mutant means. And he says, they'll look it up. Kids aren't dumb, and how much better at the X-Men. I think the X-Men would have been a better title. Mutants would have been the Mutants would have been a better title than the X-Men. Oh, okay. So Allison's responding. I liked it. You're a pure expert. I'm currently reading Batman Nightfall. Oh, good. That's my buddy Chuck Dixon and Graham Nolan. Good stuff. Pete said it was a good one to start with. Yeah, it is. It is. Some good classic, well-written, non-pandering comic books. Then Thor, then Iron Man. Okay, so let's start with this comment. So first it was the Fantastic Four, then it was Ant-Man, then the Hulk, then Spider-Man, then Thor, then Iron Man. Okay. And then obviously the Avengers and then Daredevil. What? X-Men is a really good name. It is a good name. But I still think the Mutants would have been a better name. To me, X-Men needs to be explained. X-Men, simple and elegant. The mutants. The mutants invokes strangeness, weirdness, outcast, powers, fear, mistrust, all in it. X-Men is just like X-Men. And then what are the X-Men? The X-Men are this, blah, 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 blah. The mutants, it's all self-contained. But I'm not going to argue. The X-Men is obviously a great name. Look what happened. I'm good at Google. I thought the racist word beauty was pretty clever. Yes, yeah. And that's another thing. Like, it would have worked better. But I'm not going to argue, Dale. X-Men obviously worked out. Now I wonder if I read correct. Does my brain animate correctly? I can't answer that. Does if it's good storytelling, to me, it just happens. But maybe I daydream all the time. I'm always daydreaming. You could be talking to me and I'm daydreaming. When I play a board game, I'm animating the story in my brain. That's why I don't like chess. I don't like checkers. I like games with theme. And like after the next day, like, I'm Allison, Pete, and I, we played a game called Lords of Vegas. And, driving home, I'm thinking about, like, it's like casinos opening and closing, and then like the goons are coming over and taking over the place and forcing this guy out of business and taking over that casino. It became like a Goodfellas movie in my brain. A freaking board game with dice and cardboard pieces. But that's I don't know, that's me. I'm a weirdo. So that's why I like role-playing games, telling these stories and then interacting with other people. And then next thing you know, we're rolling dice and making these animations in our brain. Something. I need to be a filmmaker. Well, I'm going to be a comic book maker. So, it took me 55 years to become a comic book maker. Let's see. Let's see how that goes. One task at a time. I don't want to be a filmmaker. I don't want to have anything to do with Hollywood. I really don't. I don't like actors. I don't like Hollywood. A few times that I hung out with actors, a couple of my friends became friends with actors. We'd had gone. It's funny because one of the actors saw my face and he must have been like, "What?" And I'm like, "You're all pretentious." Like I couldn't hold in my contempt for you people. I was a school teacher at the time, and so I pulled. I'm more important than you. Like we got to like a friendly argument, but I made it clear that I can't stand actors. I don't want to be around them. And I definitely don't want to be around Hollywood. That just, I don't know, whatever. Hollywood is, unless you're like an auteur, why can't I think of his name? Guy did Goodfellas and Raging Bull. Why can't I think of his name? Jeez. But unless you like that, you making stuff by committee. Hollywood is by committee. And sometimes the committee works. Like George Lucas's Star Wars was edited and Scorsese. Thank you. That was driving me nuts. Dale, thank you. Martin Scorsese. Yeah, like he could get his vision created, but like George Lucas, it worked the other way. The committee saved Star Wars, and then look what happened there. I think, but whatever. And I'm straying from the topic. So I've been talking for an hour and 21 minutes. What is the verdict? What do you guys like? I got 22 people in the chat right now. What do you guys like? The Justice League better? Oh, Fantastic Four better? Keep in mind, this is kind of like the Jets versus the Sharks kind of gang up. You know what I mean? We're gonna dance fight. We're not really gonna do Gangs of New York fight. You could like both. I make no secret. This is light years ahead. Whereas I recognize the importance of the JLA. This I truly love. So we got Justice. Oh, Dale liked the Justice League better. Okay, I didn't expect that, but you know what? That's what makes the world go round. It's different opinions. Marcus liked the FF. Levi liked the FF, and Pete Rock says more classic comics. This might be my thing. Next week, I'm probably going to show the Judas Contract by Marv Wolfman, some classic Teen Titans, the Judas Contract. So if you don't mind spoilers to an important story, but we'll do that. We'll do that next week. So yeah, again, I don't have Amazing Fantasy 15. I'm sure I have a reprint of it somewhere, but that is a master class in comics. I'll see if I have a reprint. That is something that should be shown. Should be talked about. That is just a master Steve Ditko and a master Stan Lee making a comic that a character obviously stands the test of time. That is such, you're right, Michael. I will see if I have a reprint because that's one of the classic Marvels that I do not have, and it is just out of my price range. That is my stretch goal. If I make $200,000 on my comic book, I will buy a copy of Amazing Fantasy 15. Zoc 10. I like this one better. I know they're both early and have room to grow in the series, but this was better. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Because it was less people, less hands, less chiefs, and it was basically two guys, Stan and Jack, and they synced together like Paul McCartney and John Lennon. And I also hate to say it, when you split them apart, just like Lennon and McCartney, you got less. It was that, these two chemicals, like I always say, like salt. What is salt? Chlorine and sodium. Two poisons. You put them together, you get salt. Stan and Jack, you put them together, boom, you get the Fantastic Four. But separately, and then you got Stan and Steve Ditko too. You know, another amazing guy. But geez, you know, Jack Kirby on his own. He did the Fourth World, which I like, but I don't love. You know, but I love the Fantastic Four. I love the X-Men. I love the Avengers. I love Iron Man. I love Ant-Man. I love Thor. You know, but what Pete, says it's a real treat to go through this comic. Yeah, you know, I'm breaking out. This is one of my early videos. I was so naive. If you go through my playlist, you know, I got like, geez, like 1,000 videos so far. You know, you could go back, but it's one of my first videos, and I'm like talking like this, you know, and I really thought that people were gonna be like, oh my god, this guy's got Fantastic Four. I was gonna get like 10,000 subscribers in a week. I was so naive and silly. I kind of wasted it. You know, I shot my load way too early, and I should have saved these big guns until I had more of a following. So I think that's what this Sunday Comics will be, is my big stuff where I can talk about them and interact with people. Good idea, everybody. That's why I love this kind of stuff. George Perez. Yes, I love George Perez, and what a great guy too. Abrax, I prefer DC overall, but this is better than, yes. I make no bones about it. I'm late to the DC train. I only became a fan of DC after the Crisis of Infinite Earths, but I respect DC. I love DC. It hurts to see what they're doing to DC because the mistreatment of the characters and disrespect to the characters. But Silver Age DC just wasn't my thing. It was you know, guys that were too old. You know, the bosses, Gardner Fox, Julie Schwartz. You know, they just made stuff that I wasn't interested in. And to be honest, I don't think their hearts were in it. They were just like dollar sign guys. This sells. It's crap. This crap. Let's move this crap. This, you know, let's get these hot dogs out of the get these hot dogs out. You know what I mean? Where Stan, like I said, he had like a real come to Jesus moment, if I say that about a Jewish gentleman. But he was just like up at night. This isn't fulfilling for me. This is him talking to his wife. You know, this isn't what I want to do with my life. You know, this is just regurgitated monster book after monster book. So do what you want. And he concentrated, boom. And now look what happened. Yep. But FFFI only, yes, yeah. You know, these psychotic dilemmas. You must pick this, you must pick that. Again, you could love them both, and I have them both. I like them both, but I love the Fantastic Four, and I respect the JLA. I love and respect the Fantastic Four, but I respect the JLA. That's the difference. And Marcus is over here. He's a Marvel guy too. That's not to say Marvel, not to say DC didn't make good stuff. You know, I slowly learned to love DC. But you know, I was born reading Fantastic Four. So there we go, guys. Thanks a lot. An hour and a half. Geez, Cafe Bustelo. Really, if you need to get going, if you need to do stuff, you get some serious gourmet shit with Cafe Bustelo. 2 scoop Tim Hortons. And I'm gonna go clean out my comic book room. Is just overloaded with boxes. I just been reading comics, put them in a box, throwing them in there. So I got to sort, and I'm redoing my catalog of comics. So it's just a mess in my comic book room. And I shut the door and I don't see it. So I'm definitely of that school of if you don't see it, it don't exist. If you don't see the mess, there is no mess. You know, there is no spoon. But thanks a lot, guys. I will see you. And I'm so glad I did this for a variety of reasons. My Sunday comics, I think I will be doing classic comics with like a more in-depth dive, you know. So I just wanted to, and it's so good because I remember when I first started doing this, I think it was just Pete and I in the chat, you know. So thanks a lot, everybody. Like, subscribe. If you are nice enough and generous enough to become a member, it's $5 a month. Like I showed you, after 3 years, I'm this month, I'm probably going to make my first $100. That $100 is earmarked towards making my comic, towards shipping and handling of sending you my 3 members a signed copy of my comic. You know, Heroic Tales. I don't know what else to say. I'm a horrible salesman. I'm just laughing, but thanks a lot, everybody. I met new friends today. I met Stippling Vong. That's pretty cool. Hit the button on. Yep. Did you guys get notified? I have my original YouTube account is just John Boa, and you know, and now the account that I use is John's Long Box. So I I always check to see. I never get notifications, and I hit that bell and everything on my original. You, you guys, are you guys getting notifications? I don't know what to do about that. But thanks a lot. It's a snowy, crummy day here in New York. We went food shopping yesterday. I had to fist fight my way through to get a dozen eggs. So my wife and I are going to make eggs over easy and buttered toast, my favorite breakfast in the universe. Thanks a lot, everybody. This was a lot of fun. All right, and comment. Let's keep this conversation going about the the Marvel versus DC, Sharks versus Jets rivalry. All right, thanks a lot. Bye bye.